This is massive for the Toronto Blue Jays as they picked up their second straight win against a Baltimore Orioles team who is one of the best in the league. And at a time where the Jays were really at rock bottom just a couple days ago, they come back to split the series against the Baltimore Orioles. And now they head to Oakland with a chance to really make a push. So to break all that down in this episode, but before we do, quick reminder to hit the subscribe button. If you are a part of the 70 or so percent who aren't subscribed and you enjoy daily Jays content, make sure to hit that button. It would mean the world to Peter and myself. Now, this was an interesting game. It was an afternoon game on a Wednesday. It was one of the work from dome days. So in case you missed it because you were working, I have you covered for all of that. And just a couple days ago, I made a video about how the Jays were at rock bottom following their second straight brutal loss against the Baltimore Orioles. They lost 7-3. They lost 10-1, I believe it was. And things were at an all-time low. Yesterday, the Jays got a huge walk-off win from Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. And today you're coming in and you're saying, hey, if you can get a series split against one of the best teams in baseball, you'll take a split all day long. Obviously, the Jays are going to have to win a lot of series going forward if they want to contend in the for a wild card and for a playoff spot at this point because they dug themselves such a deep hole. But this is a great start for the Toronto Blue Jays. And what a game for Vladdy. Vladdy's playing unbelievable. What a game for everybody. Ernie Clement hopped into the fun. There's just so much to go over today. But what I want to start with before I dive into the game recap is the schedule going forward. And we've touched on this in the past. And you look just a couple days ago, June 4th, they lost 10-1, 7-2 against the Orioles. And that was coming in. When the Orioles were coming into town, the Jays were kind of on a bit of a roll. They had won 5 out of the last 6, fresh off a win against the Pirates on Lou Gehrig Day. And then they come in to town, the Orioles do, that is, and the Jays get absolutely smoked in both of the games. So you're coming in, you're thinking, okay, the Jays need to at least split the series coming into the series. And they ultimately ended up doing that, getting a big win yesterday, 3-2 against the Orioles, and then 6-5 against an Orioles pitcher who was making his first start in the big leagues, making his big league debut, and they really took care of business. And that's very important to get the series split at this point. Every win matters. We're now just 2 games under 500, heading into a bit of a soft spot in the schedule. Now they play the Athletics and then the Brewers, the Guardians, the Red Sox. The Guardians and Red Sox are fairly good, but the Jays need to sweep the Athletics coming up starting tomorrow. The Athletics are no slouch at this point. They have the best closer in baseball in Mason Miller. If the Athletics get a lead, they can really, pummel the Jays and they can win. But I really think that if the Jays can go ahead and continue this offensive spurt that they saw in the Pirates series and that they saw in today's game, they have a very good chance to go ahead and attempt to sweep the series. It is a lot to ask for because it is the Toronto Blue Jays at the end of the day. But the schedule ahead, you really got to win 70% of your games the rest of this month. And it's going to get harder when you're playing against the Yankees at the end of the month and the Orioles again into July. There's a lot of things that are going to be going down. But today was a very good step in the right direction, getting a split against an Orioles team again that is one of the best in baseball. And quite frankly, they needed to answer the bell after those 2 losses against the Orioles. And they did so in dramatic fashion. Let's go through everything again. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. was the star of the show today. He hit a huge 3-run home run. He had a 2-hit night. He has been the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. that we saw not in 2021 necessarily, but in 2022 for sure, and shades of his 2021 self. And it's really important that he starts and continues to do what he's been doing over the past few weeks, is climb his OPS. It's now about 800. I believe it's going to be close to over 800 now over the coming days, but it's approaching 800. He's playing third base now at a solid level. He's playing first base a lot of the time too. He's being the player that we thought he could be, especially on the offensive end. And we've been saying it all season long, Peter and myself. If the Jays want to have a chance to compete for a wild card spot, compete for the playoffs, compete for the World Series, it starts and ends with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Obviously, Bo Bichette as well is very important. Bichette went 0-4. He's having a horrible start to the season. But if Vladimir Guerrero Jr. can pick up the slack, and he can carry the Toronto Blue Jays. We've seen him do it in 2021 along with obviously all the other guys, but he has the capabilities and the talents to carry this team to wins, and he did today. He got a 3 RBI, got a 3-run home run to put the Jays up 3-0. He set the tone early and got things done. And you look down, Justin Turner had a 2-hit game or a 3-hit game yesterday, a 2-hit game tonight. Justin Turner's starting to get it going. If everyone can start to get it going at the same time, then you're really looking at a team that has the potential to go on a big win streak here. Yes, I know a couple days ago we were saying rock bottom, but we know the potential is there for the Blue Jays. We know they have the talent, the repertoire, at least from the pitching side of things, and in theory, the offensive talent to get going. It's just a matter of them doing it. Obviously, they could have made bigger additions in the offseason. They could have signed a player better than IKF and Justin Turner and all these guys. But IKF has played up to his contract so far. Justin Turner started off very hot and then got really cold, and now he's starting to pick it up again. If Justin Turner can turn into a 750, 800 OPS guy, that's another tool. If Bo Bichette starts to pick it up, then he will be good to go. And I'm not saying the Jays are back by any means, but winning 2 games against a Baltimore Orioles team who's 40-19 or something crazy coming into this series, it was a very good series for the Blue Jays. Even though they got crushed in the first 2, how they bounced back was going to be important. And by them bouncing back by splitting the series after losing 2 games in heartbreaking fashion, they did what they could. Veroshow continues to play well. IKF continued to play phenomenally. And Ernie Clement, when it was 4-1, Ernie Clement, a 2-out RBI single with men on second and third. Like, it was perfect. Clutch hitting, timely hitting, great defense overall. It is exactly the type of game the Blue Jays should win against a team that, again, is so good. Obviously, they had a rookie pitcher starting, making his major league debut. But you look at the Orioles offense, top through bottom. They have all these guys they're calling up. Every time they play the Blue Jays, they call up a new pitcher, a new hitter. They have Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, who's an MVP candidate. They're very good and going to be good for a very long time. And the Jays came in and won back-to-back games after getting crushed in the first 2 games, and that shows a lot of character from the team. I'm not saying they're back. I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs. They need to keep this up, and this was the time to do it, and this is how you start a potential run over the next couple of weeks when they're really going to need to take care of business against the Athletics, against the Milwaukee Brewers, into the harder series against the Guardians where you play them 6 times in the span of 2 weeks. Like, there's a lot that are going to be relying on the fans, everything over the next few days, over the next few weeks as well. And as we've been saying, the Jays' plan for the future, their plan for the deadline, relies on how they do the rest of June. And quite frankly, these 2 wins are a lot bigger. It's still technically early, but for the front office especially, like, if the front office wants to make a move or needs to make a move, their hand is going to be forced if they continue to play bad this month. But if they continue to play good, then the front office, for the first time in a while, might be in a decent spot and might have some some positive fan reactions. But I'm not going to dive too into that because, quite frankly, it's just 2 wins. They could easily go and flare out in the next series. But I think the ultimate sentiment right now, let's just be happy with each win they get, with each passing win they are able to get. You be happy with it. The team's still in a rough spot. Like, obviously, there's a lot of things that need to be fixed, but the pitching was solid today. Yusei Kikuchi was great. The bullpen was shaky. Garcia barely got out of it. Romano was obviously on the 15-day IL, missing him a little bit. Zach Pop gave up a couple runs. It was way closer than it probably should have been, the game. A lot closer than it probably should have been. It should have been a 6-2, 6-3 win. But the bullpen right now is a little bit shaky. I believe Chad Green was unavailable today. He's been pitching a lot as of late. But Yusei Kikuchi held it down, especially after Yusei Kikuchi having back-to-back starts that were the worst of his season. For him to go up against one of the best teams and one of the best offenses in baseball and really shut them down was critical for him going forward as well as right now, because every single win counts. But that'll wrap it up. Let me know in the comment section what your thoughts are on this. I'm not going to get too excited. I'm not going to get too high. I'm also not going to get too low when they're playing bad. We're in a decent spot. You need to make a run over these next few games, over these next couple of weeks, and over the next couple of months if you want to have a chance for Ross Atkins to buy at the deadline and for the Jays to make the playoffs. So that'll wrap it up. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you want to check out a video from yesterday, click on your screen now. We'll see you tomorrow.